Hello. That was better than my show reel. That was. Thank you so much all for coming out.
How are you doing? How is Salt Lake City treating you so far?
I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it. Yeah, I've spent quite a lot of time in Salt Lake and Utah. We filmed some of Westworld in Utah, and I did a film called Jackie and Ryan in Ogden, which is quite close. And I toured here with my music last year, so I've been coming back quite a lot. Thanks for having me.
I love that. Well, speaking about some of your roles, I want to start things off with a bit of an icebreaker. So it's easy enough for me to go look at IMDb and see what your first role was. But what was your first professional role, and how has that kind of arced through your career?
Well, the first job that I ever got paid for, which was I think I got £30 a week, was I played. Has anyone seen a film called Bugsy Malone? It's a film. It's one of Jodie Foster's first films, and it's about gangsters, but they're all played by 11-year-olds. And it's very funny. And if you haven't seen it, check it out. It's called Bugsy Malone. And they did a musical of this in London, and I played the drums in the band on stage in the West End. And I still have not been more excited than to get a job when I was 15 years old, like, as a jazz drummer. I thought I was so cool. But that was my first ever job. And then my very first acting job, my first film role was a film called Stardust. Thank you. Which I auditioned to play the lead role, but I had literally no experience of ever being in front of a camera, so I wouldn't get approved anyway. But then they cast a brilliant actor called Charlie Cox, who's one of my very close friends, who's now Daredevil himself. But then they offered me this smaller role at the beginning of the film, which was honestly wonderful.
It is. On your IMDb, it is Doctors, the British staple.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yes, I did there's a TV show called Doctors in the UK, which has been running for about 400 years. And it's on every day, I think. And I still to this day don't really know what I was playing. I know I had to wear a hairnet, and I remember asking the director why, and they said, just wear it. Yeah, I don't. It's not a good story, but it's the truth.
Well, and since you mentioned Charlie Cox and got up thinking about Daredevil, one of my favorite roles of yours is Billy Russo. And I'd love to know what that audition process was like, because the Marvel Universe and Netflix was so developed at that point.
Yeah, Charlie was actually one of the first people I called when I got that job, because I knew he'd been doing the first season of Daredevil already, and he was living in New York, and he had sort of had the whole experience. And so he was very excited when I told him that I was coming in. He actually found me an apartment in his building that he was living in, so I could babysit, I think. No, it was so that we could hang out, which was lovely. The audition process, I think I only did 2 auditions. My abiding memory of I think I did 1 audition by myself, and then 1 with some people who were going to potentially play the Madani role. My abiding memory of the audition process is that they gave me this fantastic, 2-page speech about Billy Russo's backstory, and he was talking about where he'd come from, and it was like this really emotional speech, which was really curious for a sort of villain, but it sort of got angry at the end, and it was this brilliant speech. And my abiding memory is just, when we started shooting, I was like, where's this fucking speech? I want to do the speech in the show. It's so good. And he was like, oh, no, that was just for you, for the auditions, to see what people are kind of made of. I was like, well, I want a speech.
Were you a big fan of Marvel, getting into that? Or did you become a fan after being part of that universe?
Well, it's sort of twofold. That's a twofold answer. When I was a kid, I had the Marvel Top Trumps. Do you know what Top Trumps are? They know at the back. But Top Trumps is like a card game where you have, I think I had a set of Marvel characters, but I had a set that just had animals on it, I think, and a set of I had a set of cars, different cars. and you just read out one of the statistics on the card, and if the statistic of the other person's card is lower than your statistic, like you would say, like the Hulk has strength of 100, and then if they have, Hawkeye, you win their card. That's the whole game, I think. Maybe I was playing it wrong. Either way, I remember I had the Marvel ones, and with the Iron Man and Thor and Spider-Man and all that stuff. And I was actually watching some. My parents just visited me, and they brought some like little kid videos, and we were watching some like old family videos. And in every single one, I was dressed like Batman or Robin Hood, I think there may have been a Spider-Man one, but it was mainly Batman. So obviously, I was from age 4 and up. I was obviously requested that. So
I love that. We need to get you in the DC universe somehow.
Hey,
I'm just saying, put out there into the universe, manifest.
I accept.
I love that you mentioned your parents because I saw kind of scrolling through, and yeah, Batman. Somebody shout it.
Just call me. I got my Bruce Wayne ready to go.
But you had posted on Instagram about your dad putting out music and being so proud of him.
I did.
Talk about that, because getting to see your parent achieve something is so cool.
So I think for those of you who don't know, I sort of started doing music a few years ago because it was, thank you. And it was kind of a long-term dream of mine to put out some of my own music, and luckily I found some support for it. People would come to shows and buy the records and stream the music, and it was really fulfilling. But one of the kind of unexpected rewards of doing it was that a lot of people kind of, I think, responded to the fact that I was approaching 40 and trying something new, trying a new dream, sort of putting myself out there in a different way when I didn't have to, but I just kind of felt this kind of projected regret of being 80 and never having done it. And so I think one of these kind of unexpected treats about doing this was a lot of people were like, oh, I saw that you were doing music later in life, and it made me want to write a novel or start painting again or doing whatever, and realizing it's not too late. And then my dad was a big inspiration on doing music, and he's always done it very privately. He can play any song on the guitar, and he always writing songs, and he's just been doing it for 50 years, more than 50, 60 years. And he also finished his own album. And so I was like, well, we have to promote it a bit on Spotify, because he had 26 streams or something. So I was like, I'm going to get that up for you, so a few more people can, key into your dream as well. And I love hearing about that. But obviously, my family means the absolute world to me. So it's nice to be able to show him off a bit, because he's fantastic. I love it.
Are you going to take him on tour with you next time?
Do you know, he actually already, when I played my show in London, not this last one, but the one before, he actually came up and played guitar on a song with me, and came up on stage in front of 2,000 people, and it was a real dream for him, so it was great.
I love that. Now, we do have some fan
for
questions.
Me, and for me.
Yes, of course. We do have some fan questions, so we can start right here, and I see we have a nice line lined up over here as well. What's your name? What's your question?
Oh, I'm glad I wore nice socks. Hi.
My name is Rory. The mic is not on.
Testing. It always does it when I do it. I'm sorry.
Okay, so my name is Rory.
Hi, Rory.
And I'm asking for a friend, but would you ever consider playing Indiana Jones?
When you say a friend, I know you definitely mean Chris, who's backstage. He's the only person who thinks that. I mean, look, Harrison Ford is the GOAT, and he is the GOAT of the wry smile, and he's so powerful. I actually met him very briefly at a Comic-Con in San Diego a few years ago, and he's in his 70s, but he is like a barrel-chested, powerful, beautiful-looking man. I was like, nobody wants to compete with that. But yes, I love those movies. I've seen them 10 times each.
Yeah. Thank you.
Great question, Chris.
So about you playing Indiana Jones. No.
That was a whip noise. I need a hat, really.
So my goal was to ask, a question that nobody else would ask, but I think I underestimated the audience's love for Stardust. There we go. So I was hoping you could tell us a behind-the-scenes story or something while you were shooting that movie.
Yeah, somebody actually brought up a Stardust picture to me to sign today, and it reminded me of the fact that I think this is what got me started on my bad behavior of always wanting to kind of like rewrite dialogue. But it was my very first movie, and obviously it had De Niro and all these incredible Michelle Pfeiffer, all these brilliant actors in it. And I was just the first 10 minutes of the film. But I remember in the audition, a bit like with The Punisher, they had this scene where the guard was trying to persuade me, it was forbidden land and magical, and I say, it's a field. And then when I got to filming that day, that line was cut on the page, and I was like, no, that was I was basing my whole character on this one line. So I went to Matthew Vaughn and Jay Goldman, who'd written it, and I said, please, it's 3 words, but I promise I can make this line good. And for me, when I watch that film, that's the line, I'm sort of talking, I'm like, it's a field! And it always makes me really happy that I sort of stood up for what I thought would be good about it, and I've continued to do that and be a pain in every writer's ass ever since, because I think I know best. But it's, I was really actually grateful for them listening to a 20-year-old kid who hadn't ever done anything, but I felt really strongly about those 3 words.
You were right.
Thank you.
You're right. What's your name and what's your question?
Hi, I'm Sayla, and my question
there.
is, how do you prepare emotionally for roles that explore darker themes without taking it home with you?
That's a very good question. It actually brings me back to talking about my dad again, because I remember he was the first one to point out that when I came home after shooting something, he would always say, you're bringing 10% of these characters home with you. Like the residue of something, like I would shoot something and I would come back and see them, I would be a little heavy, or I would be a little, after, I remember shooting this film Killing Bono in Ireland, and I came back like a little manic, wired kind of. So I think it does just take a little, I think the truth is you can't really prep to not assimilate or to sponge in a bit of what because you're living in it. If you're doing your job, I think you're sort of committing yourself to this process, and usually it's quite intense. It's most days, most hours, most days for months and months on end, and so you're bound to kind of by osmosis just take in a little bit of what that is. And I think the more years I've done it, the more you're like, okay, well, this is going to be a slightly heavier time, or you just feel less pressure, I think, on taking it home with you. I think if I'm playing something dark, I'm like, well, okay, well, I'm gonna watch a rom-com tonight. Hi everyone, Lumos. So I think the answer is just knowing that that's what's ahead of you is the answer, and just knowing that, having the expectation that it's going to take a little while, a few weeks to shake it off. Thank you.
It's a great question.
Thoughtful question.
What's your name? What's your question?
Hi, my name is
the lights.
Janelle.
I liked it. It was cozy and dark.
I wanted to actually ask you about your times filming in Utah, what you've seen of our state. Have you done anything touristy, or what you like about Utah?
Do you know what my favorite thing was when we were shooting? We were in Zion, shooting Westworld with some of the Red Rocks. And Jimmy Simpson and I, who played the 2 guests in the park in Westworld, we went... I'm not sure if it's ATVing or what it is, but it was something on 4 wheels, which was dangerous enough to need to wear a helmet. And we shared the driving. We kept swapping back and forth and sort of nearly going off the edge of the cliffs. And it was so exhilarating. That was sort of my favorite Utah tourist thing. And then when I came to shoot the film Jackie and Ryan, I remember that I have summoned the shadows. When I came back to shoot Jackie and Ryan, I was playing a street busker, and to put me through the ringer, the director said I had to go and play guitar, which I had not played until 3 months before ever, and then I gave it up immediately afterwards. It hurts your fingers. And I actually played in a couple of bars in Salt Lake, sort of with a hat on and just like trying to get away with it, singing this like folk music, and no one ever knew that I did it. Well, that was actually terrifying. But there you go.
Thank you. What's your name? What's your question?
Hi, my name is Anna, and
Hey, Anna.
it sounds like there's a new Narnia adaptation coming out.
Yes.
If you had the choice, what character would you play?
Oh, I would like to be Reapercheap, the mouse. I always loved that character, and it was played by Eddie Izzard in the Prince Caspian, and then he was recast as Simon Pegg in The Voyage of the Dawn Treader. Well, I'm not still to this day don't know why they did that, but I loved I love that character, and there's not a lot of sort of grown-up men in the Narnia series. And I'm now a grown-up man. so there we go. But I'm thrilled that Greta Gerwig's doing it. She's directing The Magician's Nephew, which is one of the books that is a sort of prequel to The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And I hope she does lots more of them and casts me as a mouse.
I do have a follow-up question to that, though. I've spoken to a few different actors who have played characters that are very iconic to a certain generation, and then there's new iterations of it. What is that like for you to know that eventually there will be a new Prince Caspian? I mean, how is that for you as an actor? And have you thought of it? Have I just put that thought into your mind?
No. I actually did I did a podcast at one point that was in the sort of aftermath of promotion for one of the Narnias, and I did a podcast with Sam West, who had played Prince Caspian in the BBC series in 1990 or 1989 or something. And we had a lovely, lovely chat about it. So long as I can do a podcast with whatever kid they get to play it next time, I'll be happy.
I love that. That's a good way to look at it. What's your name? What's your question?
Hi, I'm Kit. First of all,
Hi, Kit.
love your music. Where the Light Gets In is probably top 5
Thank
albums
you.
all time.
That's nice.
But my favorite work that you have been in is Westworld. And I was wondering if you have like a favorite scene that you filmed and why that is your favorite scene.
Honestly, almost all, they kind of blur into one a little bit, but almost everything we did in the first season, the second season was like a little more trying to figure out what was happening. But what I loved about the first season, Jonathan Nolan, who was the showrunner, one of the directors, writers, he took me aside the day before filming because I had gotten cast very last minute. And he took me aside the day before filming and he said, this is all id. No ego. This character is all id. And I was like, got it. What does id mean? And he sort of explained that it's all, from the gut, from the groin, from the heart. He's like, no thinking. And I ran with that pretty hard. And so I didn't really think about things too hard. I knew that my job was to find trouble and mischief and kind of flare up with temper and sort of vim and general arseholery. And so I kind of just enjoyed running with that. So they all kind of blow into one. I enjoyed there's a scene where we sort of like a total Butch and Sundance kind of, cock the gun and literally kick the door down, and I shout a lot of things that I can't say in public because I can see some young people. But it would all have to be beeped out. But it was just so much fun, just kind of, There was also a scene where I stabbed someone in the hand with a steak knife. That was a really fun scene. It was just fun to be naughty, really.
Great question. What's your name? What's your question?
Hi, I'm Ansley, and I was wondering that out of all the characters you've played, which one do you feel like you're most alike?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I feel like my job is to sew a little bit of myself into each character. I played Americans for about 10 years straight, doing sort of Westworld and The Punisher and all these different TV shows. And then I went back to the UK and did a BBC show called The Gold Digger, where I played a British character called Ben, who... So I thought that might feel like me, but actually, even though it felt very natural, it didn't really feel like me for some weird reason. And then other characters sort of do. I mean, you know, there's a lot of my goofy nonsense in a film like Killing Bono, even though that character is, I think, insane. But yeah, there's a lot of my goofy side in that, and then I think something like Jackie and Ryan, which is very like musical and soulful, and he's a bit, you know, he's sort of heavier and, you know, more soulful than I am. But there's a lot of like the type of man that I like to be for my friends. Sometimes that kind of solid presence and that kind of like supportive and gentle kind of man. So there's a lot of me in that as well. So yeah, I don't know. There's more little bits in everything. There's no one character that I'm like, oh yeah, I felt really close to him. Because I actually think I'm probably better as an actor when the character is a little further away from, you know, when I find ways to relate. But that's probably just my lack of skill. I don't know. Maybe there are a lot of actors who I think sort of seem like they're playing themselves in everything, and I don't feel like I'm good at that. So I prefer characters where I'm like, you know, wait, this guy was in jail for 10 years. I can play that. You know what I mean?
Great question. What's your name? What's your question?
Hi, I'm Grace, and
Hi, Grace.
I wanted to know what your greatest achievement would be.
My greatest achievement is a really good question. I think feeling proud of yourself is one of those really interesting questions, which it took me a really long time to feel that way. I think a lot of times, probably the first 10 years of my career, I would watch the things that I'd made, and I would watch them a bit like this. Why are you moving your eyebrows so much? Or just I don't believe you, you know. And so I think, but that was also kind of what pushed me to the next time kind of ground myself more and learn more about acting and be better and be more exciting and make bolder choices or smaller choices and just, you know, watch a million films and see what I loved about different things. Greatest achievement is probably nothing to do with acting. I mean, I'm really proud of myself, not so much for the music that I've made, but I'm really proud of myself for doing it, because it was something that I very easily could have just gone, do you know what, I'm almost 40, doing sort of like pop music is kind of pathetic, bro, just don't. Do you know what I mean? Like, you tried when you were 19 for 5 minutes, it didn't work, do this. This is what people want you to be doing, is wearing a cloak and riding a horse, and you know, that's it. Just do that. And then I thought, well, my life is short and it's mine, and I'm the only one who has to live with any regrets for not doing things, so I'm gonna try. And then, you know, releasing an album, doing world tour and doing all that stuff, even if it's, you know, not for the same size of audience that the films I make are for. You know, I'm proud of that. But I have to say, like, sometimes when you look at a sizzle reel like that, or honestly, especially when I come to a convention or something like this, I was thinking this recently. I went to a convention in Tampa, put on by the same lovely people of FanX that put on this one. And I was looking at people's tables, and there are people who have been doing acting for 40, 50 years, and they have 2 or 3 different characters that people know them from and whatever. And I was looking at, especially in this sort of genre space of sci-fi and fantasy, and I was looking at the Westworld pictures and the Punisher pictures and the Narnia pictures and the Dorian Gray and all of these different things that I've done in the last 20, 25 years, thinking, do you know what? I have had an absolutely wild ride here. And I've been so lucky to being given the chance to play a lot of these different characters, but actually, when you're doing it, you're so invested in doing the best job you can do and not letting people down and wanting people to enjoy it, and you're aware of the reception, you're aware of the moment, But then actually when you take 5 seconds to look back and say, well, I've been in a lot of stuff. And some of it was not shit. And some of it was. But that makes me feel really, really proud. And I'm also proud of like certain things that I turned down because I wanted to spend time with my mum and when she wasn't well and stuff like that. Like I'm proud of those choices I've made as a man as well. So it's a very difficult question to answer.
That was a great question. What's your name? What's your question?
Hi, I'm Rebecca. My question is there one piece of media or literature you're like, why does nobody know what this is? We all need to go read that or watch that right after this. Something you want to promote.
Other than my dad's album. Bless his heart. The sweetest man on the planet. One piece, I mean... It's a really hard question. There's a lot of books and films that have been made in the world. Wow, I really can't think of a good answer to this question. Maybe go read some Mary Oliver poems. Is that a ridiculous answer? Yes, it is. Was that the only thing I can think of that exists in the world? Important literature. I mean, I'm a big Ian McEwan fan as an author in terms of the stuff that he's written. I think, obviously, I'm not going to stand here and talk about like fancy books and sci-fi books because you've all read 50,000 more than I have. So, you know, those are some slightly, maybe some Ian McEwan and some Mary Oliver are some sort of slightly more left field things that just make me feel like grounded, or like make me feel small in the world in a good way, you know? That's a very good question. I think I would have to think about it for longer. You've stumped me. Well done. You've won a T-shirt at the back.
Great question.
Need one of those T-shirt cannons so I can just...
For the next con. What's your name? What's your question?
My name is Agaric, and my question
Adaric?
is... Yes.
That's a cool name.
I think so too, thank you. My question is, as I'm sure you're well aware, you are the fan cast of young Sirius Black.
Yes.
And I was just wondering, out of your fellow fan cast stars, who would you say is your favorite?
Yeah, so this question is about a very sort of loving fan cast of me as a young Sirius Black, even though I'm approaching the age that regular Sirius Black was, because, and that's actually testament only to the sort of fandom that have spent all those years kind of, you know, invested in a well, I was going to say fictional story, as if Harry Potter is not fictional. It's real to me. And it's a very lovely thing, I think, that people are kind of invested in you for something that you had nothing to do with. Obviously, you know, fantastic characters, and honestly, if I had to pick one that people would associate me with, that would be the character I'd pick anyway. So that makes me feel really good. I think isn't Andrew Garfield one of them? Yeah, I think I would have to say, I'm not sure which character, I can't remember which character he's, what? Remus. I think I would have to say that because we have this, Andrew and I share a birthday. We have the same birthday. I'm older by 1 year. Or maybe more than 1 year, I don't know. But we have the same birthday, and, you know, I've always been, I've always really liked him ever since I met him. I've gone to see him in various plays he's done and stuff because I just think he's great. So probably I would say him. Who are the other ones?
Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Oh, yeah, Aaron Taylor Johnson. I went to the gym with him once. That was embarrassing.
Was it pre or post Craven?
It was pre. He didn't look like he was chiseled out of marble then. It's ruining it for everyone. I'm getting there, though. I'm going to do it. In my 40s, I'm going to get ripped. What else? Who else have we got?
Who's the other one for Wormtail?
Oh, he's great, too. I'm in good company here. Anyway, thank you for your question.
Great question. What's your name? What's your question?
Hello, my name is Callie, and first off,
Hi,
I just
Callie.
gotta say, Stardust is in my top 4 on Letterboxd. And
Love it.
my question is, what is the most scary or daunting thing you've ever had to do while filming?
Oh God, we might need another T-shirt ready. Answer this question. A scary or daunting thing? Well, there's various stunts, obviously, that I've done over my time, most of which I was very excited to just jump into. But I do remember on the Prince Caspian set, there was a stunt where I was doing this fight had a sword in one hand and a dagger in the other, and I was sort of fighting, doing this choreography, and they wanted me to back towards this cliff, and then they wanted me to go backwards over the edge of this cliff, and it was a cliff. It's a field. It was a cliff, and they'd built up these big sort of scaffolds with mats to about 10, 12 feet below the cliff, but it was still a cliff. And I remember thinking, and I remember practicing it like in the clothes I came in the morning, in like tracksuit bottoms and like a hoodie. But then I forgot that I was like strapped in massive leather armor with weapons, and I could barely move anyway. I looked like R2-D2 in that when I walked. So I remember feeling quite anxious about that. And actually, after I did it once, I remember being like, "Whew, that was fun. Let's do it again." But I remember feeling anxious about that. There was also a scene where I sort of like galloped this horse down down into this sort of cavern, and I pick up this flaming torch, which I don't think nowadays you could do health and safety-wise, because it was real fire and a real horse. And I remember that I was galloping this horse, I picked up the fire, and you can actually see this in the DVD extras, and it looks like, I look kind of cool like I did it on purpose, but I didn't, was that I pick up this flaming torch, and then I turn the horse around, and the horse like sits down and then stands up and goes off again, because it was like sliding on the stone. But you can actually watch that in the DVD extras of Prince Caspian. So that was horrifying. I'm sure there were lots of other things. I never really like horror, but I did do one because it was Guillermo del Toro who cast me in this this thing called the Cabinet of Curiosities. And I remember I was the character who had to be scared, but the thing I was scared of was like looking at a painting. So obviously in real life filming on the set, I'm just a guy looking at a painting, which is not that scary. Out of all the things, like nobody has like a phobia of like looking at a painting. So I remember looking at this painting, and I said, we need to do something to scare me. And I had told the director that when I was young, I was really scared of... Has anyone seen the sequel to The Wizard of Oz called The Return to Oz? Yes. You all have seen it, which is very cool. There's these characters, for those of you who don't know, called the Wheelies. And they have, like, instead of hands and feet, they just have wheels, and they kind of have this noise right before they arrive. And I told him I was scared of that, so he would just start playing that on speakers, the director, as I was looking at the painting. And you can see my face, like I almost start to cry, because I'm like so horrified by these sounds. And then I kind of got used to that, so then he just started coming up behind me and smacking like two bits of wood together, which would make me kind of jump. I've forgotten the question.
I think that was a good answer, though. Thank you.
Did that answer it at all?
Yes.
Okay, good.
What's your name and what's your question?
Hi, I'm Marissa, and
Hi,
I have
Marissa.
a super serious question about Shadow and Bone.
Okay.
It's,
No. This is very serious.
It's very serious. It's so serious. Have you ever watched Freddy's Horse Show?
Have I ever watched Freddy's Horse Show?
Yes.
Oh, Freddy's Horse Show. So Freddie Carter, who is one of my best pals and played Kaz in Shadow and Bone, one of his first acting jobs was in a show which I don't know the title of, but I was just calling it his horse show because it was about, he played like a stable boy, which that just filled me with joy. But I've still never gone to watch it. But I have seen some stills of that man and some jodhpurs, which was a wonderful thing to behold. He's a strapping young man.
Very serious question. Love it. What's your name? What's your question?
Hi, I'm Catherine.
Hi, Catherine.
So my question is, I'm a little bit of a linguist, and I was curious, for Billy Russo, how long did it take you to work on the accent, and like how difficult was it to stay in accent?
So I did about 10 years worth of playing characters that were all American in a row. And actually the scary thing was when I got cast in that BBC show I talked about where I had my own, where I was supposed to do my own voice. That's what freaked me out, because I couldn't remember. I mean, obviously I was speaking in my own voice, but when it came to doing it on camera, I had a bit of a freak out that I was over-enunciating everything, or that I was talking like that. I couldn't remember how I sound with the pressure of a camera. But for the Punisher, I like with an American accent to try and make something very specific. I've played a couple of characters from Boston, and I've done a couple of characters that were more sort of Midwest sounding. I did one character that was supposed to be from Tennessee. So I like to just find some two or three examples, sometimes with a dialect coach, sometimes just me sort of winging it on YouTube, trying to find some cool accents. I prefer it not to be like a famous actor, just a person. And I remember I found a couple of cool Brooklyn accents that I really liked, and I would just listen to those. I think there was a dialect coach on that job before we started, and then not after we were filming. But very helpful to kind of like key it all in. I don't think I particularly had a problem staying with it because I was actually living in Brooklyn for the whole shoot, so I was surrounded by those sounds. But I love accents. It's always the first place that I start when I do a job. I'm actually, I think, about to do a little project where I'm gonna whip a very similar accent out. So yeah.
Nice little tease there. So we are down to the last 5 minutes. What's your name and what's your question?
My name is Prince, and my question, so you played a lot of villain characters, and most of your characters end up dying at the end. Spoiler alert.
What is that?
So I was wondering, what kind of roles do you see yourself doing in the future, and are villains still on the table?
Just anything where I get killed in the last episode of the second season. It's the only thing I'm interested in. It's happened a ridiculous amount of times. I have been killed a lot. I've been shot. I've been stabbed. Been run through with a sword. I've taken a bunch of pills and thrown myself in a swimming pool. It's all a bit sad, isn't it? Yes, in answer to your question, serious answer to your question is that after finishing Shadow and Bone, I think I was like, okay, that's a good 5-6 years of... It wasn't so much about villains. I think villains are really fun. It was more about playing characters that were like untrustworthy. And I think that was like chewing at me a little bit towards the end of the second season of Shadow and Bone. I was like, I really feel like in life, I really respond to you know, let's take it back to Indiana Jones. Like, you're rooting so hard, no matter what happens, for them to get through the peril and to get, you know, to get the thing that they're driving towards, and you are that person. And I think the actors that I love have often played those kinds of characters. And so I was like, I've really enjoyed the mischief and the fun and the villainy and the, you know, the kind of like, the plotting. And playing a villain is really fun, and you get to do interesting things with manipulation and wearing different masks and rage. You get to play rage. But I think in the end, I would love to, as someone who I feel is sort of in my leading man years now, to play some characters who you're rooting for, because those are the kind of actors that I always loved. And I think so. I'm making a slightly more active choice to try and find those characters. And I have turned down a bunch of villains in the last couple of years, because I think you got to make space for the things that you are dreaming about in your life. And that was, for me, that was just one of them. And that was the point of doing music, was share a bit of me and my hope and my joy and my, real self. And I think, I look at the posters that I still have, in my house Back to the Future and Karate Kid and all these, when Harry Met Sally, these 80s movies that I loved so much. And they all have this thing about, like, the guy on the quest who you're kind of rooting for. And they have that in common. And so I think I was, a little more actively looking for that kind of stuff for now.
Great question. What's your name? What's your question?
Am I doing the right thing?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Blair.
Hi, Blair.
And speaking of characters you're rooting for, if an adaptation of A Court of Thorns and Roses were ever made, would you ever play Rysand?
Do you know what's funny? Is that I, at the, already did it, the original and the best. There can only be one shout out, Daddy. Do you know what's funny? At the sort of request of several of my best female friends in their 30s, I did read the first ACOTAR book, and then when I got 2/3 of the way through, and you're talking about this guy who summons shadows and wears black, I was like, I've already done this. I got to read more. Yeah, I know, it gets filthy, doesn't it? I could do filthy. I just, our show is more PG. You know what I mean? What's wrong with a simple, old-fashioned kiss on a table that's also a map? But yes, I remember reading it and thinking, I did this already. But I do, that obviously it's a very fleshed out character, and stop it. So you saying I have to read more, but I think I read 1.5, and I was like, I want to read something else now. But I get why people love him.
Thank you.
Why? Do you think I should play that too? Am I not too old? We'll give it a few years. If they come back around. Is he a villain in the end?
No.
Well, then it's okay.
What's your name? What's your question? And you will be our final question.
My name's Karen.
Karen.
You've expressed, first of all, great work on the Institute.
Thank you.
You've expressed interest to play Rippy-Cheep in the upcoming reboot of Narnia.
Yeah, just when that lady asked me just now, yeah.
But if asked, would you consider playing Lord Miraz?
Oh, very good question. The answer is no, because villain. He's not a good guy. I want to be a good guy. Also, Sergio Castellito, who played that role, is so cool. So I don't think I would mess with anything quite so close to home with what I did before,
Great question.
But thank you for your question.
And a wonderful panel. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you all for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. And I'll see some of you tomorrow. Thank you so much.